just don't feel like we should be excited about the development of artificial intelligence. We shouldn't be excited if we saw The Matrix. It's like, what were y'all watching? What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be talking about Pluto in Aquarius, specifically the dark side of Pluto in Aquarius. We'll be going in on the internet, spirituality, and just overall things to expect. So, let's get into it. As always, I'm so happy to be within this space. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, because I'm really honest. And I feel like I especially try to be honest here. So I wrote this book, Astrology of the Matrix. And part of my life philosophy is that we are experiencing this program, this simulation, which we can call the Matrix, right? I'm also, in case anyone doesn't know, I'm a worshiper of the goddess. I am all about goddess energy. I believe that masculine and feminine, but the nature of the universe is dark and it's feminine in nature, naturally. And masculine energy is the other side. It's the experience. And, I really explain this in a coded way in my book. So with that said, that philosophy really, or belief really influences how I look at things like life or even astrology. And without even getting off course, astrology has a lot of different paradigms, a lot of different modes of thought. If you have the capacity to decipher the different ones, more power to you. I don't think anybody in this life is meant to take it upon themselves and become a debater for a spiritual science, something that's mathematically based. I respect all different modes, paradigms of astrology, and I study them. At a certain time, you have to go with what works for you, because we're all individuals living our own experience within the matrix. I do offer y'all the advice of not getting too logical with this. Keep the spirit, what feels right. So we're coming off of Aquarius. I felt compelled. I'm always experimenting with life, and I felt compelled this year. I'm like, okay, Saturn's about to finish its transit here. I want to put myself within the shoes of a young person right now. Possibly, someone born in the early 2000s, or even, born with significant Aquarian, energy, maybe Neptune, Aquarius. But like I said, just a young person. One of my reasons for this is because since I started doing my life coaching, most people, but pretty much anybody under the age of 25 is seeking to be a content creator. It's like they grew up we got to understand that they grew up in a completely different way than the rest of us. If you were born with the internet, if you went to high school with social media, you look at the world differently. Your expectations in your 20s, you're just going to have a different outlet. Unless, you're one of those people who parents make sure they go to college, get that debt, get that degree, and then start paying it back. But nonetheless, there are just so many opportunities available, unconventional paths. And the rest of us who experienced life before social media, we have a certain foundation. If you, like I said, if you didn't grow up with social media, the blessing is that you're naturally rooted in reality. Just like all of us, you have the ability to go online and create whatever you create, but your natural mindset, or there should be a natural comfortableness here in the real world. So getting back to, the young people, so with seeing that, I'm like, okay, if I I want to put myself in the shoes of a young person. Like, what if I was young and I was trying to establish myself out here? Like, how would I get going? So that allowed me to kind of explore the internet and other technologies in a way that I normally don't do. Okay? So within this, and I'm laughing because no funny stuff. I know I'm a good astrologer. I know I'm a great astrologer. And part of the reason is not because I know the shit. It's not because I know it. I'm a great astrologer because I'm serious about the acquisition of the knowledge, and then I'm serious about the teaching of it. And to each his own. We're all different people. But God bless y'all who can learn astrology from people who are sarcastic. I respect this stuff because you have to respect this stuff to really understand it. If you don't respect it enough to understand it, you're going to be looking like a fool. And I'll say this real quick without digressing. Because astrology is a science and it's mathematical, you can't make up your own rules. If I am submerged in my craft enough that if someone I'm talking to tells me the time they were born and the day, I at least have an idea of where their sun is. And because I have an idea of where their sun is, I can then deduct to myself what was rising at the time. Okay, so I want to say that because Aquarius is the rebel. Aquarius is the rebel. It's the innovator. It's unconventional. It's all of that. So when it comes on to all modes of learning, this is going to be highlighted in some places, in some different branches, like the school system. This may be a welcome change. Change in regards towards learning and stuff are probably long overdue. But in something like astrology that is scientifically sound, it might get tricky because you have people who are going to start making up their own shit. I do want y'all to be aware of that. So I say that to say this. Even if you're listening to me, Gemini Brown, and I say something that doesn't sound correct, you don't have to agree with me. And if you know it's wrong, shit, I'm the type of person, let me know I said something wrong, okay? But we don't want to argue. We don't want to argue, right? But we do, more so I just want you to be able, any student of mine or whatever, I just want you to be able to see fallacy, to see when something is incongruent. That brings me to this point. You'll really want to keep the ability, older people, you want to keep the ability to think critically. For young people, you really don't want to believe or accept everything you hear or see on the internet. So one of the things that I realized is that this is a life principle. If life is a grand game and we're all pretending, life is about being who you want to be and then projecting that out, okay? There was a time, though, when there were particular requirements in order to be something or someone, right? To play that role. But we're moving into a space because of the internet. Simply put, like, the right accreditations aren't going to be going on. And essentially, you can more than ever fake it until you make it. So another thing I kind of saw while looking at the state of things now, because we're this far into the development of social media, right now, if you're a young person that wants to, create content and stuff, the world or social media, it doesn't support individuality. Young people, if this is what you want to do, you want to make sure it's the thing that you're doing behind that and of the content is flowing from your soul. It's in alignment with the actual will of your soul. So it's a big thing. In general, there are many people who have been redirected, who are not on their set courses. And that's for a number of reasons, okay? environmental factors, relationship factors, but then the ability of social media to give you instant gratification and therefore create a new ego. I say all that to then talk to parents. So parents who have this knowledge of astrology, many of you have been on your journey at least 5 or more years, all right? Maybe your kid was 12 when you began your spiritual journey, and before you know it, they're about to be a whole adult. I'm encouraging you to really monitor and how they fulfill their potential. And if you know that is you who's been on this journey, get them a reading. The joys in my craft is when I've had a client for years, you know, I've heard about their children and their children come of age and they get their kid a reading. That's a part of the new culture that we need to build and things that we need to put in place, okay? So once again, to the young people, use this knowledge to know thyself, because that's what it's for. As Pluto transits Aquarius, you will be fighting, all of us to some extent, but I'm really talking about if you've kind of developed in this, we'll be fighting conformity versus non-conformity, real versus artificial. Maybe because I'm a Gemini or whatever, and any of my students know this, I'm always telling you, draw the chart. Draw the chart. At its core, the basics will really, really help you get ahead. So for me, I'm always drawing a chart and looking at signs in an isolated way. And it's really when you look at them in an isolated way, you can understand more. So let me get to it. The opposite sign of Aquarius is Leo. So with Pluto being in Aquarius, anyone with Leo energy is going to eventually experience a Pluto opposition. The realm of Leo and what Leo represents in life will also be experiencing that opposition. So to some extent, Leo, I look at Leo as celebrity, the creatives, the performers of the world, the leaders in different fields. Most importantly, look at Leo as children, as pertaining to children, all right? The aspect of Leo that pertains to children deals with the part of childhood where you're unapologetically yourself, or what some would call innocence. Children love to do what? Play and use their imagination. Hence why Neptune is exalted in Leo. For you out there, I want you to start thinking about, to gain deeper insight into this and understand Leo's connection to children more, just think about childhood and think about elementary school and the middle school, coming of age, puberty, and that change in oneself. Or think about this, how everyone starts to change once they hit puberty or once they start dealing with the opposite sex, romance, all right? This is the age of Aquarius we're living in, right? I say all I say this, y'all. I intuitively see and feel like our children, and really childhood is, I'm gonna just say, be under attack. If I'm being real. And one of the ways in which it's under attack, because I just said, what do kids love to do? Kids love to play. Now, if we're going into Pluto and Aquarius, and we're spending all these times on our phones and with all these gadgets, what was natural to a previous generation of children in regards to playing is now going to be the opposite. So let me say this better. Those of us who were able to live before this technology boom got a purer version of childhood than these Pluto in Cap and Pluto in Aquarius children are going to get. So once again, I encourage those of you with the knowledge to use it towards building up your children. I'm also saying pay more attention to them. This can be an increased time of child deaths, as well as all the other crazy shit that Aquarius entails. Mass shootings and all of that. All right. I strongly feel as though the youth are at some kind of risk. And in the simplest sense, it's because they're not even naturally doing things that children should be doing. No! On the other end of this, because life is all duality, or the cause and effect to this, I also believe there's going to be a lot more child geniuses. Oh, man. Oh. The little souls about to come through, man, they're going to come in wired with their purpose. Goes to the next part. So we're going to have more child geniuses in. However, to get a child genius, you got to have a little bit of intention. I believe that one of the positives that can come out of Pluto and Aquarius is more intentional mating or more intentional procreation. But at a deeper level. Okay, at a deeper level. What comes to mind is a few weeks ago on the Breakfast Club, there was a judge. I think, yeah, she was a judge. She was a judge and she was a guest host. And she had been divorced. I think she was in her early 40s. And she froze her eggs at 34. And, you know, she's now ready to go into that realm of motherhood. So now, you just got to put yourself in this woman's position. Not only is she picking the sperm donor, but I'm sure her has a strong idea of, because she has to pick the father, what qualities she'll want her child to have. So, more intentional child making. I was contemplating what I'll talk about, like artificial intelligence. I think I'm going to save all of my thoughts for another video, but I'll give a little preview here. I've been talking with myself like, yo, we're not afraid of this. No, we're not afraid of this. You know why we're not afraid of this? Because we saw the freaking Matrix. And I'm talking about for myself. When I first saw the Matrix, I didn't fully understand it. I watched the Matrix time and time after again, and each time I watched it, it made more sense because I kept living life. I feel as though this is where separation of those of a certain caliber of spirit, or as they would say, those who are really awake out here or have been awakened enough to see what's coming. I feel like there's going to be a separation because the artificial intelligence is going to give life towards a whole lot of things that are artificial in nature. So they're not going to be as real as they were before. In another sense, because people are people, just like when cell phones came out, we were like, oh shit, I could kind of record myself having sex. And then it's like, oh, I have this in my phone. And then things eventually, many people were victims of revenge porn. We didn't know that that's a natural consequence of technology in the sense of cell phones and having cameras on them with artificial intelligence. It's going to blur the lines between what's real and what's not. And I think that's where your spiritual practice will really help you. So just like with anything in life, there is a certain level of self-control and moderation that you need to have. So I just suggest that we start considering this instead of being like, I just don't feel like we should be excited about the development of artificial intelligence. We shouldn't be excited if we saw the Matrix. It's like, what were y'all watching? It's a technology, but we have the ability to have more awareness of the consequences. So that's it. I'm gonna talk about this in another video about that. That's all I wanted to say for that, man. We're already seeing more mass shootings and things of that nature. And at the root of that, so at the root of like the unexpected events or the crazy events, it goes back to Leo. Technology provides a way for those to be seen. And as this thing develops and people become more and more engulfed in wanting to be seen, wanting to be heard, you always have to account for those who naturally aren't, and then that want to be. So that'll be their way of making noise or being a part of the party, per se. Okay? And then within this, we got to understand that Leo rules the heart. So the opposite sign of Leo, in essence, can be seen as heartless. I'd say this, we will become more detached as a civilization. We should seek to become more unified, okay? And ultimately more compassionate. So, it's a little bit about the dark side of Pluto in Aquarius. Feel free to chime in. Let me know your thoughts. Where's this Pluto happening, this transit happening for you? All my parents out there, chime in. Let me know what you think. Mother's intuition, what you feel, all of that. And yeah, if you haven't got my book, Astrology of the Matrix, you can do so now. Until next time, peace.